in Beijing.
And I'm Li Dongning, and lawmakers and advisors are right now in Beijing for their annual meetings known as the Two Sessions. And this is a key event on the national political calendar.
Absolutely. Once every year, China's top political consultative body has nearly 2,200 members from different political parties, social groups, sectors, and organizations. Its most important functions are giving political consultations and democratic supervision.
And in about 60 minutes, the advisory body, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC, will begin its opening session, and Chairman Wang Yang will deliver a work report.
We're watching that for you and bring you live coverage on that as well. This year, the members' corridor will continue to give political advisors a chance to speak to the public. Due to the coronavirus, the event is being held virtually instead of in person. CGTN will, of course, bring you live coverage of those discussions as well. Joining our special coverage today, Mr. Wang Huiyao. He's the founder of the Center for China and Globalization. Mr. Wang, a pleasure to have you on our program today. You know, this year's two sessions are taking place against an extremely complex international backdrop. We're seeing regional geopolitical tensions on the rise, a global public health crisis, the pandemic. There's no end in sight for now. And also, we are seeing sluggish economic recovery across the world due to the emergence and prevalence of new variants of COVID-19. What are your expectations going into the political season this year?
Yeah, thank you, Jones. I think this year two sections are really highly watched, not only in China but worldwide. As you exactly outlined, the situation is internationally is really got attention of the world because of the crisis we're having in Ukraine and Russian conflict. But also we are actually still at this pandemic season that we haven't seen the end of the tunnel, the light, and but also the world is really watching on China, how China can support the global economy. I think last year China has really given a very good performance. I mean, import-export has hit a historical record high, and China become the backbone and also a major supplier to the world economy, stabilizer, I have to say. So I think people are, wondering what China will do next in terms of continuously in the international stage. At also these two sections, what are the new proposals? How are they going to think about the world economy and also that affecting China? What about this crisis now happening in Korea and Russia? And also, more importantly, this year is the first year China is going to launch its second centennial objectives. And also, there's a lot of new policy like common prosperity and dual circulation, how that's going to continue.
All right.
Yeah, but all those, I think, are all highly watched subject.
We'll break down all those one by one later on in the show. But now the members of CPPCC are beginning to arrive at the scene in the Great Hall of People.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick look at the members' corridor. This year's first members' corridor event is expected to start shortly. The press will have a chance to speak directly to political advisors. CGTN's Tian Wei brings us the latest from the scene.
I'm now standing in the CPPCC members corridor. You can see right behind me several microphones over there. In fact, 7 members of CPPCC are going to be there in a few moments to answer questions coming from the press. In order to make it a safer conference, the members of the media are going to ask their questions from the media hotel, and also the CPPCC members going to see them through the big screen right over there. One would assume there will be a lot of questions about the Chinese economy, and also China is going to deal with the complicated environment in today's world. And also, we can expect that the CPPCC members bring us more up-to-date with their personal stories about how China has been evolving and changing over the past year. For example, the Winter Olympic Games and many other issues. And of course, right after the corridor comes to an end, there will be the opening ceremony of the CPPCC's annual conference in the Great Hall of the People, just a few meters from here. We're going to see a lot of consultations and also support coming from CPPCC members to the policymakers this time at the conference and throughout the year. It is very crucial, as the spokesperson of CPPCC said, for the democratic and scientific decision-making in China.
Telling you the members' corridor actually is a very popular part of the two sessions every
Right.
year. It started actually in 2018, and people get to watch all those members, China's political advisors, take questions directly from the press. We believe that is happening right now.
And they might be expecting, they need to be prepared to expect a lot of harsh and very interesting questions from the public.
Absolutely. Let's listen in.
A couple of members of the CPPCC to meet with the press because of the COVID-19. We are hosting the members' corridor in a virtual format. All the members of the CPPCC, they will answer the questions from the press center that is on the other side of the internet. Due to time constraint, we can allow only one question for one member. Please identify yourself before asking the questions. Now let's bring on stage the members. Please introduce yourselves. Good afternoon, my name is Wu Hao. I'm a CPPCC member. I'm from the Capital Medicine University. My name is Zhou Jianping. I'm a CPPCC member. I come from China NetSpace Project Office. Now the floor is open for questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question.
请北区第一排中间那位记者提问。
Thank you very much. I'm with People's Daily. My question is to Mr. Wu Hao. Right now, we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are witnessing constant variants, new variants of the COVID-19. And how do you evaluate China's efforts in fighting the COVID-19? And how do you evaluate China's policy of zero COVID? And what adjustments of policy can you expect going forward? Thank you very much for your question. Since the Wuhan outbreak, I have participated in the emergent handling of COVID-19 in 11 provinces. I have witnessed the pandemic, got involved in fighting the pandemic. I believe China's zero COVID policy is the most effective and most responsible. China's dynamic zero COVID policy is successful because we have the strong leadership of the party. We also have the staunch support of the general public and also the understanding of the people. It's also indispensable from the strong support in terms of science and technology. China's COVID-19 control is very successful in that it demonstrates China's advantages of its culture and political systems. It is fair to say so because each time when we are fighting the epidemic, we bear in mind the principle of putting people's life and health in the first place. We are constantly summarizing and adjusting our measures and policies. In the beginning, when we were in Wuhan, we put in place enclosed management and great management. We mobilized the party members to take the front line. Our party members and also medical workers rushed to the front line and served as a fortitude of defense against the pandemic. All the scientific and technological workers also joined with us. In June 2021, during the Xinfa epidemic, we put in place epidemiological surveys. We analyzed people's whereabouts and initiated the precise control of COVID-19. And last year, when dealing with the epidemic in Guangdong, we put forward such concepts of buffering zone and control area and restricted area. We're using health code to manage different categories of people. And different control policies are practiced upon different population groups. Last year, in September, when dealing with the epidemic in Xiamen, we used the National Land Resources and Travel History Survey for the first time, and we managed to control the epidemic in Xiamen within the first incubation period. And this is possible because we were able to leverage some of the most advanced technologies to effectively control the epidemic. This year, there were some flare-ups of the epidemics in Beijing. We were also preparing for the Winter Olympics, and we used some electronic means to control the epidemic while not controlling the free flow of personnel. We very efficiently controlled the pandemic in Beijing. So from all this, you can see that we have been constantly adjusting our measures and policies. Going forward, we will follow the development of the virus and dynamically study the disease and coordinate our economy and different social sectors so that we can maximize the effectiveness of our COVID-19 control policies and also minimize the impact on society. In the meantime, I encourage all of you to develop a healthy lifestyle, improve our personal awareness in epidemic control, and let's join our hands together. I have confidence that we will weather through the storm and win the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wu Hao, for sharing with us your COVID-19 control experience. Next question, please.
请南区第一排靠过道那位记者提问。
谢谢主持人，我是科
Thank
技日
you.
报记者。我
From
想提问
the
周建平委
Science
员，
Daily.
几代航
To
天
Zhou
人艰苦
Jianping.
奋斗，托起了中国航天梦。
The aviation and astronautics sectors have a lot of astronauts supporting this industry, and you are also concerned about the 3 traveling astronauts already in the space. So, what will be the major tasks this year for the space station? Thank you for your question. I would love to take this opportunity, first of all, on behalf of all of the researchers and scientists of the China Manned Space Engineering Project, to thank all of the media groups for your concern and support and attention to our project. Last year, the Manned Space Engineering has its sub-project of a space station in implementation, and we have launched the core module of Tianhe, 2 manned spacecrafts and 2 goods carriers, and we sent the astronauts into the space stations, and we have completed the key technologies verification task. Right now, in the core module of Tianhe, it's already in orbit for 10 months and over, and it's in very good shape. As to Shenzhou number 12, the crew members have accomplished their task, and on September 17th last year, they have returned to the Earth. Right now, they are in about 6 months of observation period. It's approaching the end, and these astronauts are all in good conditions. They will dive into their daily work again. And as to Shenzhou number 13, the crew members have been in orbit for 140 days. In those days, I've been in teleconferencing with them. They report to us about their conditions physically, in work, and in life. They sounded perfect, and they accomplished all of those planned items on their agenda, including some contingencies, and they are scheduled to return to the planet in mid-April. And their returning will represents the completion of the verification period of the space station project. So those people have contributed greatly to the technology development. And as to the data analysis and processing, we've done some evaluation, and according to the evaluation, in different systems of astronautics, including the rockets, the application system, the overland system, those systems are up to the engineering standard. And functionally speaking, they have outperformed the set targets. Since May this year, we're going to enter into the construction phase of the space station. And it is planned that we will launch another 2 space stations, experimental capsule, and 2 goods carriers. And we will send another 6 astronauts into the space station. As to Shenzhou number 14, the crew members, during their in-orbit time, will embrace the 2 experimental modules. And as to their tasks, for example, in the 2 experimental capsules, they will have some takeover work and transitioning work, and they will observe it. And when necessary, they will do some controlling work. After the alignment and the interface, they will do some experiments. As to the crew of Shenzhou 15, by the end of this year, it will be launched to the space station, so as to meet with the crew of Shenzhou number 14 in the space. That's something we're quite looking forward to. By that time, such a station with 3 different separate stations, 1 goods carrier, will weigh at about 100 tons in total. This project supports the life science, material science in space, the combustion science and basic physics, and some other space experiment equipment. And 6 astronauts are working in China's space station, and they will present themselves to the whole world. We're looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zhou, for introducing to us about China's
that
space
is
station.
2 members of CPPCC, Wan Wuhao from Capital Medical University and Zhou Jianping, chief designer of China's manned mission, talking about the achievement that China has made in both the COVID prevention and control and also aerospace industry.
Absolutely. We'd like to discuss even further with our studio guests here. We're now joined in the studio by Mr. Wang Yang. He's the founder of the Center for China and Globalization. Also, Tsinghua University professor Alessandro Galambuski and Teixeira. Welcome to you both. Professor, let me get your take on things. Just now we were talking with Mr. Wang about his expectations watching this year's political season. Can I get your take on what will be the focus of the 2 sessions this year?
I think it's a very important moment, not just for China, but for the world. I think there are several elements for this, especially this political season. First one we just heard is about COVID-19. Many countries, they would say that it's over, but we know that it's not over. We still have a lot of things to overcome, especially because we are not united fighting for COVID-19. Okay? China has gave a huge demonstration almost to do the impossible to control the pandemic, and plus than that, helping other countries. China has helped more than 150 countries, has donated 2.1 billion doses to help to overcome, especially the developing countries as Africa and Latin America. So I think that is still one thing to be debatable and to achieve. Second one, of course, is the economy. Although we see numbers of recovery, we always need to remember that those numbers, they don't represent the reality. Why? Because 2020 and 2021 especially was years of recovery when we had negative GDP. So you're talking like countries like United States or Latin America and Africa, they had negative GDP in some cases of -7. So you're seeing growth based on those ones. So we still need to discuss how the world is going to recover in terms of economics. And third, latest, is the war between Ukraine and Russia and Ukraine, that of course we're going to challenge the world governance system to see how United Nations and multilateral institutions are going to forecast the future. So we have to discuss, of course, the new multilateral system and how we're going to manage the governance around the world. So I think you see China with a new role, a mediator role, that happened since last year, for example, in Afghanistan. Evacuation of US is happening now with Ukraine and Russia, China, trying to put everybody on the table and say, okay, let's come down, let's see what we can do for the best for humanity.
Okay, we'll come back to our discussions on those issues, of course. And now let's go to our reporter Su Yuting, who is now joining us from the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Yuting, hello there. The CPPCC annual session will open very soon. What can we expect this year?
Yes, Dongning, the China's top political advisory body will open its annual session very soon at 3 p.m. And CPPCC Chairman Wang Yang will deliver the work report. And as you can see behind me, there are lots of people entering into the Great Hall of the People. That's more than 2,000 Chinese political advisors will be there very soon. And you know that this session is a very important window for the world to know about the priorities and plans of the central government for the coming year. And you know that this year's two sessions are particularly important because this year the 20th CPC National Congress will be held in the second half of the year. And last year, lots of works have been done mainly on the 14th five-year plan for social and economic development and also for the long-term, long-range objectives through the year 2035. And this year, you know that China has already successfully held the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. So topics related to sports and health will be on the high agenda. And other important issues, including the green economy, high quality development, and carbon peak and carbon neutrality targets, and biodiversity, COVID-19 vaccination, and rural revitalization will also be discussed. And the CPPCC says it plays an increasingly important role in carrying out its functions of the political consultation, democratic supervision, and its participation in political affairs. So lots of proposals proposed by the advisors have already generated a lot of public interest, and it will help formulate the country's future better policies that will not only shape China's future development, but also have very important implications for the world. Back to you, Dongning.
All right, thank you very much. Su Yuting reporting from the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, where the CPPCC is going to convene very soon in less than 60 minutes. Well, it seems that our guests today are really looking into the right directions of CPPCC. They talked about the focus that CPPC, the two sessions in general, is going to tackle and going to discuss, indeed. But back to the two CPPCC members who were grilled at the corridor. Let's turn back to our guests today. Mr. Wang, well, because the Dr. Wu Hao from Capital Medical University talked about the measures and a lot of the efforts that China has put into controlling and preventing and controlling COVID-19, and so far, so good, right? But many are still talking about the necessity of continuing to adopt zero-case policy. Do you think that policy is still sustainable?
Well, I think that actually we have to look at the big picture. I think so far China has done very successfully. But as the world is really going through kind of lifting all these lockdowns and all the countries are open doors, it could pose challenges to China, I think. So really, I think China's position probably will reflect the world position as time goes on. But I think now, before we really see the dust settle, I think China probably will keep its zero tolerance policy for the time being. But that means we'll have to see how the herd immunity has been achieved overseas, how the new vaccine has been developed, what's the vitality rate of the Omicron. So I think a host of issues. But I do think that as we already have successfully held the Olympics, and as so many 30 of heads of state, international organization, leaders has visited China. So I think we do have a lot of experience, confidence now to really maybe have some degree of openness as time goes on. So I think it really depends on the world situation and how various variant going to develop.
Indeed, a lot of unpredictable factors that are still coming on, the possible further mutation of the virus, etc., and how other countries are controlling the spread of the virus, indeed. And not only the the COVID situation is unpredictable, so is the world situation, the geopolitical landscape in the world. And China could be facing its most complex, treacherous external economic landscapes in years.
And that's according to one top economist and CPPCC member who told CGTN Sun Ye how he anticipates China will steer its course this year.
China's Central Economic Work Conference has said this year it's all about stability. And that goal is being seriously tested now.
What's happening in Ukraine is bringing the biggest uncertainty this year, and its influence could become more complex the longer it goes on. Sanctions could dampen demand, and supply chain would suffer, and those changes bring more pressure on inflation. And if the Federal Reserve raised the interest rate, a spillover means emerging markets will be particularly rattled. It's instability for the global economy.
China already has a strained relationship with the U.S. to worry about.
The bilateral ties are tense. If the two sides have no reconciliation over Ukraine's situation, political factors will disrupt economic activities, and our external environment will be even more complex.
Wang says China will respond by relying even more on its domestic market.
External demand is responsible for roughly 1/5 of our growth in 2021. That ratio will be significantly smaller this year. That's why we're further fostering the domestic market with investment as well as measures to boost consumption.
He also anticipates China's first quarter economic performance will pick up from last year's comparatively slow fourth quarter and gradually build up in 2022. Sun Ye, CGTN, Beijing.
And our discussions on the economic situation continue here with our studio guest here, Professor Teixeira. You mentioned how you will be watching for first the pandemic and then the economic situation this year, but these two topics are actually interlinked with each other. I was going to ask you how the pandemic will be factored in with China's economic outlook, because let's face the fact, China has an abundance of experience dealing with the pandemic under its belt. But just look at last year. The first half of last year and the second half were two completely different pictures. In the first half, really robust economic growth. Towards the end of the year, we saw 4.9% economic growth in the third quarter and just 4% towards the end of the year. That is when the new variant Omicron started to wreak havoc around the world. Like Dongning said, we don't know how many more mutants that will appear and we will have to deal with. How does the pandemic factor in with China's economic performance outlook this year?
Yeah, I believe the pandemic it's slowed down China growth, not just China but everywhere. If you see United States with Omicron, for example, especially in the end of last year, in the beginning of this year, the numbers are still very high. You take countries like Latin America, in Brazil, you still have a death rate over 700 people every day. Still cases of 25 to 35 to 40 to 50,000. So of course, I don't like to say that this is a new normal, okay? But Western economies, they are looking the pandemic and say, okay, will not get herd, for example, process with the population to have everybody vaccinated or don't be contaminated. We know that a lot of people, they had been contaminated already with vaccination. So I think we're gonna need to live for some period of time with the expansion of the Omicron in some countries, like even in Asia. Look, South Korea, 140,000 cases. Vietnam, increasing cases. Hong Kong, increasing cases. So it's very early to say that this is over, in my opinion. So yes, that is gonna affect the Chinese economy, but also the Western economy. So the speed of recovery is yet to see, especially if you put another component, that is the war, okay? Because we saw the delegate explaining that, okay, we have a spillover in markets with the sanctions, because the sanctions are towards Russia, but again, Russia is part of BRICS, Russia has a lot of investment in different countries. This will affect the whole economy. And as we saw as well, it's very important, China has, from different other aspects, China still have the internal market to rely on. And that's a very powerful instrument for a country like China. So I do believe the growth of China is going to be in quality, not just in number. And China is still going to perform very well comparing to the world, because that's the main point. So China represents growth in terms of internal growth. The international trade of China has been growing. Import and export. So I think in the case of China, until now, for sure for the first semester of this year, it's going to be a safe, I would say, landing comparing to other countries that's really facing a very difficult time in terms of economic performance.
The unpredictability of both the COVID virus and also the global situation makes China even more determined to keep a stable economy. And that's the major message sent by the Central Work Conference, Economic Work Conference of last year in December. But some argue that why China emphasizes on stable economy, because the economy was not stable. Professor Wang, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I agree. Yes, absolutely. I think that, when China confronted so many challenges, pandemic and uncertainty and close up of the borders, but particularly now we have this Ukraine and Russian crisis, and that sanctions followed up. So you're going to have an enormous impact to the global economy and particularly also to China, because China is the largest trading partner with 130 countries. The whole world needs China in supply, particularly many countries still shut down, semi-shut down. And that China, constantly supply, and that's why China's import-export has hit record highs. So I think that, we have to stabilize the economy. I think, as the professor mentioned as well, the second half of the economy, as we see, last year China actually flattened quite a bit. But this year, now with all the challenges we have, with the softening demand, with the crisis of Ukraine. But also, I think we have China is now launching a lot of new programs like Common Prosperity, and entrepreneurial needs to be more revitalized, and so there's a lot of internal thing. But I think again, China is such a highly effective, efficient country with a great synergy with technology, with the energy policy, with everything clean, climate change, all those incentives. So I think China, as long as we have strong government, have a really policy tools that is readily available to tackle those issues, plus the government's strong coordinated capacity. I think China can really, withstand all those challenges. I'm really confident that we can.
Exactly why people are monitoring and watching this year's two sessions, because they want to get a gauge of the government support and policy directions as we move into 2022. Professor Teixeira, something you said struck a chord with me. You said something about China aiming for quality, not quantity, when it comes to its economic growth there. Let me come back to you, because we're getting some developments there at the members' corridor. Let's turn to the members' corridor. This is a part of the two sessions where political advisors are taking questions from the press. We've so far heard two of them.
Thank you very much. I'm with CMG. My question to Mr. Shen Jian is that we know that 2022 Olympic Winter Games in Beijing was a great success. A lot of the competition venues have impressed people a lot. For example, the skydiving and alpine skiing and Xuruyi stadiums. A lot of people are concerned about the continuous usage of these stadiums. So what considerations do you have to best leverage the legacy of those stadiums after the games? Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Beijing 2022 Olympic Winter Games was held on time despite the COVID-19 pandemic. We delivered a simple, economic, and fantastic Olympic Winter Games. In a few hours, the Olympic Para Games will be started, And I wish the great success of the Paralympic Winter Games as well. You just asked a very important question. Constructing stadiums and venues up to the Olympic standard, and also the continuous usage of the Olympic stadiums are a major job of our department over the past 6 years. This year's Olympic Winter Games is the first time that we have practiced the concept of sustainable development. We have some milestone tasks. We have 5 competition venues that are left over from the 2008 Summer Games. The reuse of these stadiums formed an important foundation of our work. All the stadiums at the very beginning stage of their construction, we have taken into consideration the continuous use of the stadium after the games and also during the games. We also have formulated legacy usage plans. We renovated some ice stadiums and built some ski sports stadiums. Our target is to leave behind legacies from both the Summer and Winter Olympics. Most of the Olympic winter sports are for a small segment of the general public. For example, skydiving is only for more than maybe 1,000 athletes, those who can jump on the stage of ski jump. There are only a limited number of people. So if we remain them as professional stages or stadiums after the games, we can imagine a very bleak picture of after games use. So that is why we will engage in multifunctional renovation of these stadiums. For example, 雪如意, which is also the national ski sports center. At the beginning stage of design, we put into consideration after games use. We have added some other functions to 雪如意. For example, the top roof club of that stadium features a large space of 3,000 square meters. You can, in the future, host a seminar or forum there, and you can even transform that facility into a large restaurant. It also features a very good view. That is the place where you can see how the athletes prepare for their ski jump. It also features a 360 degrees mountain view. If you extend the slope, you will be able to come up with another competition facility. You can host some sports and cultural activities in that place. You also mentioned 雪飞天, which is the ski jump platform in Shougang, where Chinese athletes secured 2 gold medals. And that was a facility renovated from a industrial site. The renovation has driven the green and transformed development of Shougang Park. We do not plan to add additional functions to that, but already the place has embodied some cultural elements. It has already become a new iconic landmark of the city. Winter Olympic Games have changed the city, and this is the most important legacy from the Olympic Winter Games. And this will be of long-lasting impact on the city. We presented a fantastic, excellent Olympic Winter Games. We have presented fantastic competitions and unparalleled experience for all the athletes. I believe that it will leave behind some fantastic legacies. Thank you. Thank you very much to Shen Jin.
As we saw there, another political advisor talking about the sustainability of all those Winter Olympics stadiums, the venues for the games. And let's not forget the Winter Paralympics.
Yes,
will kick off.
Which is ongoing as well. It's just like when we are celebrating the success of Bingdun, we have to remember that Xu Rongrong is at work right now.
Absolutely. It will kick off later today, and CGTN will, of course, have special coverage on that as well. Let's continue our conversation with our studio guest here. Professor, of course, the stadiums are only part of the legacy left over by the Winter Olympics. The bigger legacy, people would argue, is really a boost to Winter Games here in China. And according to Thomas Bach, the IOC president, an elevated level of winter sports internationally. What do you make of the legacy of the Beijing Winter Games and the upcoming Paralympic Games, of course?
That's a very important question. I was here in 2008, part of the Brazilian delegation, because we are bidding for the Summer Olympics in Rio 2016. I was really impressed because I stayed the whole period of Olympic Games. I was fortunate enough to watch everything. And I was skeptical, not skeptical, but I said, could China deliver the same kind of structure and organization that they have done in Beijing Olympics prior? And I said it was very difficult because for the world was something unbelievable. Nobody was expecting that show. And then we come to the Winter Olympic Games, Beijing, and it was amazing. And I believe, comparing with Brazil legacy that we have built, that China uses very well its structure, sports structure. One, because you have a lot of development for children, and that's very important. We can never forget that the future of our nation is going to be the children that we form, and that's China uses a lot. So that's the first point. Okay, so you still have a legacy for them, improving sports, getting out. For example, we just listened here about rural revitalization. Okay, China has brought to the rural areas sports. So if you go to any place in China, okay, any province, you're gonna see kids playing, learning Olympic sports, and that's very important. Another important element is the economic side of the Olympics, okay? And not just people doing more sports, but as well creating new sectors of economy. So, for example, how many people you employ now teaching how to ski? How many people you're employing teaching to do snowboard? What is the sports industry that was born in China since 2008? This is a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities. So sport is an important element for teaching our future generation, but also to economic activity. So I can cite here many sectors that China didn't have, and now you have it because you have the Winter Olympic Games. So snowboard production, ski production, glass ski production, helmets, winter clothes. All these are new activities that China is taking the lead. And you're going to see in the future, in the next Winter Olympic Games, you're going to see not China competing for the top first, second place, but also engaging all this new generation and all those people to do winter sports that always is be good and generation jobs. So that's very, very important. The legacy is there already.
Well, we can never forget about Brazil Olympic opening, especially Gisele Bündchen's walking through the stadium, still in my mind, really. Brilliant indeed. But back to the Winter Olympics, and it's like left to China. What kind of impact do you think it actually has had on China's winter sports already? Because China was not very keen on winter sports like skiing, like skating.
Oh yes, I think that there has a tremendous boost of winter sports in China. I mean, there's about 300 million people actually involved. That's mind-boggling, such a big number. But what's more, as I think Professor said right well, I mean, so many new sectors has been opened up. I was just a few days, I haven't been to the big mall of the China World Hotel, and when I go into that, there's a huge winter sports shop open just inside the mall down in the ground there. So it's enormous. new opportunities. But I think more than that, China is the first city has hosted both Summer and Winter Olympics.
Right.
It's really a big testimony of China's organizing capacity. And also on top of that, you organize this at a pandemic peak time. And with spectacular performance, with audience, with the live coverage. So I think China presented a very good public good to the world economy, stimulation to the world spectator, also the industry, and of course provide the entertainment actually to some extent during this gloomy pandemic time. So that's very important. But also furthermore, I think also this is the first time China has shown to the world that the value of the Olympic, together is newly added for this time, plus Summer Olympics. So how we can really get everybody together, and also more importantly, the slogan of one family was also emphasized. Spectacular opening for moments. Yeah. So all those things I think also presented a highly shared future, shared values, and how basically we are saying, let's all work together. Let's all accept each other. Let's all give each other a pat on the back. Let's do our best. So I think is spectacular. I think this kind of a performance has left a deep impression for not only for people in China but for the whole world.
Yeah, let's compete mainly on the sports ground. I have to mention the mascot Dun Dun because I haven't got one yet.
Okay.
I'm very that's the main thing in my head about the Winter Olympics actually. But everybody knows about Bing Dun Dun, and a lot of friends from overseas actually has asked me for one for Bing Dun Dun. From that angle, we can see
not knowing you don't have one yourself yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big pity. But anyway, from that angle, we can see the huge influence that Beijing Winter Olympics is enjoying across the world.
Absolutely.
And of course, Panda is not only the mascot of Beijing Winter Olympics, it's also the mascot of China's environmental protection efforts as well, and animal protection. China, of course, now the world's largest carbon emitters, has been rolling out policies to reduce its carbon footprint to be more environmental friendly.
And these include cutting its reliance on fossil fuels, boosting the proportion of renewable resources in the country's energy mix, and increasing the size of forests. Our reporters Li Jianhua and Dong Xue have more.
Hey, Jianhua.
Hey.
What are you reading?
Some reports on global carbon emissions. It's projected that China will release some 11.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions this year, which makes China the top emitter.
I see. But hold on. So when divided by 1.4 billion, on average, each person in China contributes about 820 kilograms of carbon dioxide emission per year. I didn't realize I could produce so much CO2.
Neither did I, but look around. Almost everything we do is contributing to carbon emissions. The consumption of electricity, to charge our laptops, the combustion of fossil fuels to warm houses, and even the consumption of meat.
True, global warming has become a top international issue. The Paris Climate Agreement in 2015 and COP 2016 in Glasgow last year zoomed in on it.
China is aiming to peak its carbon emissions before 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. In 2020, coal burning accounted for 49% of energy production in China, and hydropower accounted for 17%.
And solar energy, 11%. And the wind power stood at 13%. In 2030, it will be a different picture.
Yeah, you're right. Coal burning will produce 27% of the energy needed, and hydropower will be 15%.
And solar power will go up to 27%, and the wind power will rise to 21%.
Finally, in 2060 or before 2060, when China achieves carbon neutrality, coal burning will be out, and hydropower will be 10%.
And solar power will be 47%, and wind power will be 31%. Besides, increasing the energy use rate will also help.
Yeah, you're right. In 2021, the production and sales of new energy vehicles both exceeded 3.5 million, recording a year-on-year increase of 160%.
While getting to the point of net zero greenhouse gas emissions doesn't mean China will stop producing emissions.
Yes, it means that China will cut emissions. In the meantime, it will absorb what is left with various means.
Statistics show that the carbon sequestration capacity increased from 19 billion tons of carbon dioxide in 1990 to 32 billion in 2020.
By 2060, the number is estimated to increase by 15 billion. Well, to guarantee the achievement of carbon neutrality, we need to make sure that all of these policies can be fully implemented.
And more importantly, each individual nation and the region should work to lessen their carbon footprint.
And China continues to expand its digital economy, which the government considers a key part of the country's future development.
And a new initiative has the country's climate goals at its heart. Indeed, it aims to send data gathered from the more prosperous eastern regions of China to resource-rich western regions, which have strong energy supplies and also good environmental conditions.
Regional differences, regional advantages and disadvantages right there. The National Supercomputing Center in the southern city of Changsha is seen as a vital part of that strategy. CGTN's Biran has this report.
As a key link between China's data center clusters, the National Supercomputing Center in Changsha is home to the Tianhe supercomputer, which began operations in 2011 to offer various computing services for the country. Now it's going to play a key role in China's latest strategic digital project, which aims to transport data from eastern regions to western regions for storage and calculation.
Our center is in central southern China, bridging the more prosperous eastern areas and the west. It is vital for us to connect both regions, coordinating the east-to-west computing resource transfer project. Also, we have users who generate data and computing centers that digest data, while making efforts to link these users, clusters, and data for better resource relocation.
Authorities said these western locations are perfect for massive data center clusters. They can be developed in a green and low-carbon fashion because of abundance of wind and solar power. The transfer would also take pressure off electricity grids in the east.
The country's digital economy will enter a new development stage. Hot data produced by industries of finance, climate forecasting, biomedicine could be processed by eastern centers, while cold data, like the training data set, can be transferred to the west. The efficiency will be hugely enhanced.
The center has developed applications in artificial intelligence, finance, smart cities, bioengineering, medicine, with China's most complete supercomputing ecosystem from hardware services to software research and development.
Under the strategy, our system is upgrading to integrate AI and high-performance computing with the supercomputing system. By applying diverse functions, we can offer AI, cloud computing, and data processing services to our 3,000 clients to boost their digital transformation.
Many tech giants like Huawei and Alibaba Cloud are involved in the mega project. Experts say the plan will stimulate the digitalization of multiple industries while promoting green development in western regions. Biran, CGTN, Changsha.
If you're just joining us here on CGTN, a reminder to our viewers that in just a couple of minutes, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference will begin its opening session.
Indeed, and where Chairman Wang Yang will deliver a year-in review report, and CGTN's Cao Bing is in Beijing with the latest on that.
In just a few minutes, the opening session of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference will begin. Over 2,000 members from 34 different sectors, including political parties, ethnic minorities, and other areas of society, will gather at the Great Hall of the People. On the agenda today is a report on the work of the National Committee of the CPPCC, which will be delivered by Chairman Wang Yang. The report on past work and future plans to support the country's governance will provide more information on China's future development. Last year, China saw many achievements, including winning the battle against extreme poverty and building a moderately prosperous society. But challenges still remain, for example, in the short term, threefold pressure in the economy: shrinking demand, supply shocks, and weakening expectations. Other challenges include consolidating outcomes of poverty alleviation and rural revitalization. And of course, the battle against COVID-19 is not yet over. In the long term, China is embarking on a new journey to fully build a modern socialist country and is also on the starting line of its second centenary goal. How the advisory body plans to work on such key areas will be laid out in today's report. Another key point is the further development of China's democracy. As a channel for political consultation, the CPPCC is an important institutional arrangement for developing whole process people's democracy. According to the press conference on Thursday, strengthening the consultative mechanism and developing whole process people's democracy is crucial, not just in form, but in an efficient way that will support the governance of the country. Cao Bing, CGTN, Media Center, Beijing.
All right, we are a few minutes away from the opening session of the CPPCC National Committee. Let's briefly, gentlemen, talk about the topics of economic development and environmental protection, cutting carbon emissions. Mr. Wang here, we used to talk about striking that balance between developing the economy and protecting the environment, and by extension, the overwhelming challenges in doing so, and sometimes China's setbacks in doing so. Now it's quite simple. It must be done because the carbon reductions goals have been set, both peaking and neutrality. The dates have been set. That ship has sailed. There's no turning back. How do you look at China's further challenges in meeting those goals, peaking by 2030 and neutrality by 2060?
Yeah, I think this is actually a great challenge, but also a great opportunity actually presents to China. I think when President Xi mentioned these two objectives, he was not saying by, he was saying before 2030 and before 2060. So it could be a few years ahead of schedule. So what I think is that once, this is something good about China, once there's a consensus built, once the top leadership is really determined, so there's a top-up and top-down and bottom-up approach. And I think that is really what happened. So China now actually, only a number of years now, China become the largest, clean vehicle producers in the world. China become the largest solar energy producer, and China become the largest wind power producer and hydropower producer. So China does actually shows the capacity to do that, to deliver that. We remember, of course, many years ago, Beijing was plagued by smoke, but that has getting back. Of course, we still have managed the windstorm yet, but at least China has made a lot of progress. What I think now is this balance, is that China has the largest application scene in the world, has 1.4 billion people, and they have so many synergy, infrastructure, and also the impact of the policy, because the policy is really trickling down very effectively. So, and then all the international consensus. U.S. and China signed its joint agreement on the climate change. I think it's a great determination by the Chinese government to really to show the world that China is in business. China can deliver. So I'm confident that with the modern technology, we don't know what the new technology continues to come up, and also the consensus, and also the habit of the people that how to keep this energy safe. So I think we're going to see miracles. I think with the determination and also the modern technology and also the international cooperation.
Right, and by the way, we are seeing the picture from the Great Hall of the People, where the CPPCC is going to convene in less than 2 minutes. Well, before the conference starts, let's continue our discussion about the environmental protection, about the reduction of carbon emissions. China certainly made a very strong and very clear commitment about that. But what about globally, Professor? What about global efforts on reducing carbon emissions?
I think it's still a question mark, because there is a big debate between developed nations against developed nations. Who should pay the bill in terms of carbon emissions? We have some areas that I think is underdeveloped still. For example, we are talking a lot about green development, but we need green finance. Who is going to finance the changing for a more green economy? This is a big challenge for every single country, especially in terms of international discussions. I think that's the mainly important point.
Right, I will leave it there and go back to the Great Hall of the People, where CPPCC is convening very soon, is starting off.
You're looking at live pictures coming from inside the Great Hall of the People, the venue for the two sessions. The leaders are making their entrance, and the opening session will start momentarily. This is the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of the CPPCC, that is China's political advisory body.
President Xi Jinping is in attendance together with the other 6 members of the Politburo.
We do understand.
The chairman of CPPCC, Wang Yang, is going to deliver a keynote speech.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that Wang Yang will deliver a report there that will be the highlight really of this afternoon's events. We're watching all of this develop and unfold for you. CGTN has comprehensive coverage of the annual political season, the 2 sessions, and this is the first day. Feel free to stay with us.
And the members of CPPCC, together with the whole nation, actually are focusing on very key issues like economic development and COVID-19 prevention and control.
Of course, due to the coronavirus, we're seeing a shorter version of the 2 sessions this year as well as last year.
Your esteemed members of CPPCC, dear friends, comrades, the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference has 2,157 members that are supposed to be here. The actual attendance is 1,987. It's up to the standard. And due to the requirements of COVID-19 prevention and control, some members cannot make it here, and they are watching the live streaming of this opening ceremony to honor their commitments. Now, I declare the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference is officially inaugurated. Please all rise, sing national anthem. Please take your seats. Invited to today's event are Comrade Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, President of PRC, Chairman of the Central Military Commission. Leaders and comrades of the Communist Party of China and PRC, as well as the responsible people for CPC Central Committee, Standing Committee of NPC, and the State Council, as well as the foreign diplomatic envoys in China. Let's give them a warm welcome. There will be 3 agendas in today's opening ceremony. Now let's enter into the first agenda. We will deliberate and approve the draft agenda of the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Now let's invite the staff member to read out the draft. For the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC agenda, draft version. First, listen to and deliberate the work report of the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC. Second, listen to and deliberate the Standing Committee of the 13th National Committee's proposals ever since the 4th session of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC. Third, attend the 5th session of the 13th NPC and listen to the government work report and other relevant reports. Fourth, deliberate and approve the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC's political decisions. Fifth, deliberate and approve the 5th session of 13th National Committee of CPPCC's work report about the Standing Committee. Sixth, deliberate and approve the 5th session of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC's proposals ever since the 4th session of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC. Seventh, deliberate and approve the proposal committee's deliberation and review. That's the end of this announcement. The honorable members, any objection to this draft? If no, please applaud for approval. Now, let's enter into the second agenda. Let's give the floor to Chairman Wang Yang on behalf of the Standing Committee of the 13th National Committee of CPPCC to deliver the work report.
Fellow members, on behalf of the Standing Committee of the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, I present this report on our work for your deliberation. 1. 2021 in review. Fulfilling our duties with the focus on implementing the 14th five-year plan and embarking on a new journey. Last year was the milestone in the history of the CPC and the People's Republic of China. Confronted with the complicated international landscape and challenging tasks of pursuing reform and development and ensuring stability at home, the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, rallied and led the entire party and the Chinese people in responding to the once-in-a-century changes taking place in the world and a once-in-a-century pandemic. We celebrated the CPC's centenary, won the battle against poverty on schedule, achieved the first centenary goal of building a moderately prosperous society in all respects, embarked on a new journey toward the second centenary goal of building a modern socialist country in all respects, and got off to a good start with the 14th five-year plan. The resolution of the CPC Central Committee on the major achievements and historical experience of the party over the past century, which was adopted at the 6th plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee, brought greater unity and cohesion to the whole party and the entire nation, and further fortified our conviction and determination to learn from history and create a bright future. Under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, the CPPCC National Committee and its Standing Committee followed the guidance of Xi Jinping's thoughts on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, enhanced our consciousness of the need to maintain political integrity, thinking big pictures, follow the leadership call, and keep in alignment with the Central Party leadership, increased our confidence in the past theory, system, and culture of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and stiffened our determination to uphold General Secretary Xi Jinping's core position on the CPC Central Committee and in the party as a whole, and to uphold the CPC Central Committee's authority and its centralized, unified leadership. Bearing in mind the importance of pursuing unity and democracy and preserving the nature and position of the CPPCC, we strengthen theoretical and political guidance with the focus on celebrating the CPC's centenary, fulfilled our duties with the view to facilitate a good start to the 14th five-year plan, and we have made new contributions to the construction of the party and the country. One, celebrating the CPC's centenary and consolidating shared political foundations. We educate people about the history of the CPC and also the history of the People's Republic of China. We carried out different sorts of learning activities, and we highlighted the characteristics of the CPPCC and leveraged the role of CPPCC members in consolidating consensus and also learning history. And through the learning of history, we have cultivated our virtual and also political awarenesses. We convened a conference for members of the CPPCC to exchange experience in studying General Secretary Xi Jinping's speech delivered on CPC's centenary. All participants expressed their resolve to embark on a new journey toward the second centenary goal under the leadership of the CPC. We conducted inspections, surveys, research tours at local revolutionary education bases. We have organized CPPCC members from 34 social sectors to Jiangxi and Guizhou, which was a valuable review of the CPC's grand history and a profound experience for all participants. We produced committee member lecture programs, including one on the theme of carrying forward the spirits of communists. We organized visits to the Museum of the Communist Party of China and staged exhibitions on the 8th National Congress of the CPC. And on precious historical material related to the origins of the flag of the party, the country, and the army. Through these learning activities, our members reaffirmed their ideals and convictions. We oriented our 48 reading groups toward studying CPC history, with 385 National Committee members serving as group leaders and reading guides. More than 270,000 reflections on readings were shared by members, which received over 1.42 million views online. We organized offline reading and lecture programs on classic revolutionary works and encouraged participants to use this as an opportunity to share their impressions and pool strengths. After the closing of the 6th plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee, we immediately held a collective meeting to draw upon the spirits of the meeting. Through study seminars on Xi Jinping's thoughts on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era and awareness-raising tours, we promoted the implementation of relevant principles, guided members in recognizing the decisive significance of both Comrade Xi Jinping's core position on the Party Central Committee and in the party as a whole, and the guiding role of Xi Jinping's thoughts. Second, deliberating and offering suggestions on central tasks and contributing to a good start of the 14th five-year plan. We executed the annual consultation plan in spite of the challenges brought by COVID-19. In the past year, we conducted 25 consultation sessions, organized 82 inspections, surveys, and research tours, and filed 5,039 proposals, and collected and distributed 867 conference speeches, serving the CPC and the state well in decision-making and policy implementation. Focusing on high-quality development, we convened a consultative meeting of the Standing Committee on fostering a new pattern of development and carried out research and deliberations on various issues. And these include the following: expanding domestic demand, removing key obstacles to economic flows, preserving and utilizing germplasm resources, accelerating the launch of new major national technology programs, reinforcing China's strategic science and technology, implementing the development plan for the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, coordinating the development of city clusters along the middle reaches of the Yangtze River, and planning for new types of infrastructure, promoting multimodal transportation and steering healthy development of the online gaming industry. With people's well-being in mind, we convened a consultative meeting on elevating the Peaceful China initiative to a higher level and organized consultations on consolidating and expanding the achievements in poverty reduction and addressing population aging. We offered suggestions on a wide range of issues, including boosting development and raising a living standard in border areas in a new era, building a high-quality education systems, reinforcing the nationwide network for safeguarding public health, preserving and developing traditional Chinese medicine, building more public medical centers and clinics in rural areas and improving their management, and formulating a social assistance law and bolstering development and security in border areas. With a view to advancing ecological progress, we intensified oversight of environmental protection measures for adapting to the climate change on the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau. We also organized consultations concerning ecological preservation in the Yellow River Basin, carbon peaking and carbon neutrality, the protection of ecosystems at key lakes, and urban sewage treatment. In support of high-level opening up, we held consultative forums on implementing key opening up measures in the 14th five-year plan, boosting China's overall competitiveness in foreign trade, developing the Hainan Free Trade Port, and raising the quality and effectiveness of law enforcement and judicial practice in foreign-related areas. Third, enriching the content of the CPPCC consultation and performing the functions of a specialized consultative body. We reinforced the fundamental function of special committees, adopted new measures of consultation, and reached greater depths in better improving the performance of our work. We initiated consultative forums for specialists, bringing together specialists from different sectors and academic disciplines. Over the past year, we have conducted a lot of in-depth discussions. 36 such forums were organized focusing on strategic topics such as scientific and technological innovation, the popularization of science, and research on a system of indicators for agriculture and rural areas. Some of the major results achieved at these events have been reaffirmed and adopted. We formulated work plans for domestic oversight and held a Chairperson's Council brainstorming session on a theme of strengthening and improving domestic and democratic oversight by the CPPCC in a new era. To give full play to the unique strengths of consultative oversight, we integrated consultation into every step of the oversight process. Led by members of the Chairperson's Council, the 10 special committees exercised oversight on priorities in different sectors and submitted oversight reports to the CPC Central Committee and the State Council on topics such as accelerating renovations to create convenience for seniors. Through these endeavors, we saw that consultation spurred progress and that oversight led to better enforcement. Leaders of the National Committee set an example in advancing independent research, which demonstrated the advantage of being flexible, pragmatic, and efficient. Last year, independent research was carried out on more than 120 issues. We opened up more channels for reporting on social conditions and public sentiment, presented key research and consultation results to the departments concerned, and published 3,010 news bulletins on various issues over the past year. Fourth, improving methods for bolstering unity and friendship to pool wisdom and strength. In line with the arrangement of the CPC Central Committee, we successfully held the meeting marking the 110th anniversary of the Revolution of 1911 by thoroughly studying General Secretary Xi Jinping's important speech at the meeting. We became more determined to promote the complete reunification of the motherland and achieve the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Members of the National Committee's leading party members have open discussions with 367 non-CPC members of the National Committee. We arranged 11 awareness-raising tours on special topics of major significance, hosted 10 committee members' lecture programs, and conducted 11 topic-specific self-teaching and self-improvement inspection tours for non-CPC members. We also held 4 seminars to assess the macroeconomic landscape and 10 briefings on major issues of public concern. In the meantime, we have filmed a number of interview videos for a series titled Conference Call. All these efforts helped communicate government policies, respond to public concerns, and build consensus. We studied and implemented the guiding principles of the Central Conference on Ethnic Affairs and National Conference on Religious Work. We held training sessions for members from ethnic minorities and religious groups and conducted surveys on issues such as boosting the employment in areas with concentration of ethnic minorities and the governance of religious affairs in an effort to promote ethnic solidarity and religious harmony. We encouraged members from Hong Kong to voice their support for the National People's Congress in improving the electoral system of Hong Kong, promote the principle that Hong Kong should be governed by patriots, and offer suggestions on responding to COVID-19 pandemic and fostering patriotism among young people in Hong Kong and Macau. We co-hosted the 4th Street Forum on community-level governance as part of the 13th Street Forum. These efforts helped strengthen the unity with our compatriots in Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and overseas compatriots. We carried out international exchanges while adhering to routine COVID-19 control. We hosted activities for diplomatic envoys from Latin American and Caribbean countries posted in China to experience the CPPCC for themselves. We provided support for China Economic and Social Council and the China Committee on Religion and Peace to attend relevant international events and conducted 80 international exchange events online. We launched a new column titled An Epic March on our English language website to mark the centenary of the Communist Party of China and filmed international publicity clips to illustrate the CPCC endeavors over the past century and its achievements in governance of China, and to inform people about the whole process people's democracy and the CPPCC system. We issued formal statement to clarify our stance of principled opposition in response to the passage of an act concerning Xinjiang by the U.S. Congress and the adoption of the report concerning Taiwan by the European Parliament and its Committee on Foreign Affairs. 5th, stepping up self-improvement efforts to enhance performance. To advance party building efforts with a focus on reinforcing the CPC's political foundations, we surveyed the implementation of the guidelines on strengthening party building in the CPPCC for the new era and held a conference to review the CPPCC's endeavors in party building and to share experience in this regard. We made efforts to foster a culture of reading within the CPPCC, organizing online conferences at both the national and local levels, and published a book series titled CPPCC Members Anthology and Revising Measures for Strengthening and Improving Study Among CPPCC Members. We formulated rules on the handling of the proposals at consultative meetings and held a national conference for local CPPCC committee to exchange experience in proposal work. We formulated guidelines on strengthening the theoretical studies in the CPPCC and supported the China CPPCC Theory Research Association in carrying out research on its role as a specialized consultative body. We convened a forum at the National Committee on Communication and Theoretical Outreach Work, and further consolidated our positions and improved the management on the ideological front. We also explored the work mechanism of special inspections at different levels. Fellow members, we owe our achievements over the past year to the firm leadership of the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, to the strong support of all the sectors of society, to the concerted efforts of the participating organizations of the CPPCC and its committees at all levels, and to the commitment of all members to performing their duties with diligence and pride, to taking their responsibilities. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of the Standing Committee of CPPCC. At the same time, we must be soberly aware that there is still room for improvement in the CPPCC's work. We need to raise the quality of our proposals and become more effective at building consensus. We must also ensure that members can make efforts to keep in touch with and serve people from various sectors and develop a stronger sense of responsibility. We should take solid steps to address these issues in our future work and make sure that they are put on the ground.
Part 2. Tasks for 2022. Pulling the strength and will of the people behind the 20th CPC National Congress. The year 2022 is an important year for embarking on the new journey toward the second centenary goal of building China into a modern socialist country in all respects, and the year in which the CPC will hold its 20th National Congress. With this in mind, the CPPCC will do the following. Follow the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for New Era. Fully implement the guiding principles set forth at the CPC's 19th National Congress and all plenary sessions of the 19th CPC Central Committee. Implement the guidelines of the Central Conference on CPPCC work. Enhance our consciousness of the need to maintain political integrity, thinking big picture, follow the leadership core, and keep in alignment with party leadership. Increase our confidence in the path, theory, system, and culture of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Uphold General Secretary Xi Jinping's core position on the CPC Central Committee and in the party as a whole. Adhere to the general principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability. Commit to the two main themes of pursuing unity and democracy. Continue to work hard on both offering suggestions and building consensus. Give political priority to preparing for the CPC's 20th National Congress. Focus on providing theoretical guidance, pulling strengths, deliberating and offering suggestions on state affairs and serving the overall interests of the country. Make contributions toward a steady and healthy economy, a thriving nation, a harmonious society, and a political environment of honesty and integrity. 1. Building up broad consensus with a focus on the overall work of the CPC and the country. In the lead-up to the CPC's 20th National Congress, we will work on fostering political integrity within the CPPCC. To be more specific, we will continue the practice of holding forums on Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for New Era, refine the study system under which the theoretical study group under the leading party members group of the National Committee charts the course of studies, fully implement the guiding principles of the 19th CPC Central Committee's 6th plenary session, consolidate and build upon the achievements of our educational campaign on the history of the CPC, acquire a thorough grasp of the CPC's latest theories, and rally and guide our members in sticking to the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. We will further improve our regular mechanisms such as open discussions, committee member lecture programs, awareness-raising tours for special tasks of major significance, press conferences by special committees, briefings on major issues of public concern. Furthermore, we will encourage our members to draw on their own experience and talk about the historic achievements and changes in the course of the CPC and the country since the 18th CPC National Congress through a variety of channels. We will stage a greater variety of initiatives to fortify unity and friendship, keep track of changes in society as they emerge, convey public concerns from different sectors, and promote social harmony. After the 20th CPC National Congress, we'll work hard to study, disseminate, and implement the guiding principles set forth at the Congress through avenues including study sessions of the Standing Committee, Chairperson's Council, Theoretical Study Group, topic-specific instructional talks, and members' reading groups. We will truly align our thoughts and actions with these principles and rally and guide all political parties, people's organizations, and individuals from all ethnic groups and sectors of society in the CPPCC in working with great historical initiative to push forward on our new journey and capture success in the new era. 2. Promoting high-quality development with high-quality recommendations. We will hold consultative meetings of the Standing Committee on advancing green and low-carbon development and high-quality development in a coordinated manner, as well as on continued implementation of employment-first policy. We'll conduct consultations on promoting healthy development of the digital economy and further implementing the strategy to develop a high-caliber workforce in the new era. Through various forms of consultation such as bi-weekly consultative forums, online consultations, proposal handling consultations, and consultative meetings with relevant departments, will carry out in-depth studies and discussions focusing on topics such as promoting sound development of rural healthcare, bolstering patriotic sentiment among the people of Hong Kong and Macau, including affinity for both their motherland and their regions, revising the law on arbitration, fully leveraging the role of vocational education in rural revitalization, advancing Yellow River National Cultural Park development, strengthening people-to-people exchanges with Belt and Road partner countries. We will continue to follow the principle of conducting research before consultations take place and work hard to make research more in-depth and effective. We will improve the mechanism of expert consultations and carry out forward-looking research and in-depth consultations on finding pathways to common prosperity, developing renewable energy, stepping up efforts to make original breakthroughs in cutting-edge science and technology, responding to population aging, and promoting protection and utilization of immovable cultural relics. We will continue to exercise democratic oversight on the implementation of the 14th Five-Year Plan with a view to finding problems, suggesting improvements, and assisting in the implementation of initiatives. 3. Continuing to strengthen the role of CPPCC as a specialized consultative body, with a focus on implementing General Secretary Xi Jinping's important ideas on strengthening and improving CPPCC work and the guidelines of the Central Conference on CPPCC work, we will take follow-up action to study and review the innovations that we have made in various aspects. Since the 18th CPPCC National Congress, we will deepen our studies on major theoretical and practical issues relating to the CPPCC and work hard to make fresh progress in refining the substance of consultation, diversifying its forms, improving its rules, fostering a culture of consultation, and building our capacity for consultation. We will develop think tanks with CPPCC features that are geared toward practical application. We will offer advice on the implementation of guidelines for strengthening and improving the work of municipal and country-level CPPCC committees in the new era. We will step up theoretical studies on the CPPCC and hold a seminar on the role of CPPCC in whole process people's democracy. We'll continue to hold in-depth consultations on the handling of proposals, intensify oversight on the proposals, and hold meetings to commend best proposals and outstanding departments that do a good job in handling them. We'll improve the quality of our work related to CPPCC bulletins, conference speeches, cultural, historical materials, and news and publicity. In line with China's overall diplomatic agenda, we'll actively conduct friendly exchanges with other countries. Acting on the plans and requirements of the CPC Central Committee, will ensure strict discipline enforcement in conjunction with the formation of the next National Committee of the CPPCC. With the goal of building the National Committee into a model body, we will promote good conduct and uphold integrity and cultivate a contingent of competent and professional officials suited to the demands of the new era. Part 3. A stronger sense of mission and responsibility, striving for great unity among all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation. General Secretary Xi Jinping's important speech delivered at the ceremony marking the CPC's centenary and the resolution adopted at the 6th plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee gave an in-depth review of the key historical experience of advancing the united front and strengthening the unity among all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation. The CPPCC, as the most inclusive, patriotic, united front organization, is a symbol of great unity and solidarity. The CPPCC should carry forward its fine traditions, faithfully execute its duties and fulfill its missions, build up great consensus, and bring together powerful strengths for the great cause of building a modern socialist China in all respects and realizing the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. 1. Strengthening the great unity among all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation is the historic responsibility of the CPPCC in the new era. Unity is the root from which the CPPCC blossomed, and the source of energy that has allowed our organization to carry on and thrive. At many different stages in history, the CPPCC has made important contributions to promoting unity among the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation. Today, the world is experiencing rapid changes unseen in a century, and China is undergoing the greatest and most unique process of innovation in practice that has ever occurred in human history. At the same time, we are faced with the tasks in promoting reform, development, and stability, with difficulties, risks, and challenges, and with tests in national governance that are all unprecedented in their magnitude. These make it even more imperative to strengthen the unity of all the Chinese people. We should earnestly fulfill the responsibility and mission entrusted by the new era to the CPPCC, remain committed to striking the right balance between commonality and diversity, make effective use of our institutional strength to expand common ground and achieve the greatest possible convergence of interests, and promote harmony in relations between political parties, between ethnic groups, between religions, between social strata, and between our compatriots at home and abroad. CPPCC members should enhance their political awareness, fully understand that each of them is an important force for strengthening the unity among the Chinese people, and reach out to people from all sectors of society to promote unity. All members should place value in unity and work actively to pursue and promote it. Members should truly take on their responsibilities instead of sitting on the sidelines, and make real efforts instead of just paying lip service, rallying more people around the CPC and pulling greater strength behind the historic advance to the great cause of the national rejuvenation. 2. To strengthen unity throughout the Chinese nation, we must give better play to the consultative strengths of the CPPCC. By building consensus through consultation and by consolidating unity through consensus, we are demonstrating the values of whole process people's democracy and the institutional efficacy of our specialized consultative body. We must fully understand just how important building consensus is to strengthening unity in the new era, and be adept at using the methods of democracy, discussion, criticism, and persuasion to properly handle problems among the people. With honest consultations that unify our thinking and goals, we'll be able to create a situation in which stronger internal unity leads to stronger social unity, and consensus leads to action. Simplistic work methods must be dispensed with. We must keep up to date with what our National Committee members are thinking, with the recognition that they come from different social sectors, fields, and industries. We should also host study sessions, discussions, and explain policies based on the needs of different members at different times, actively report on their valuable opinions and demands, guide members in viewing economic and social development in the correct light, and ensure the principles and policies of the CPC are better understood and better implemented. This will ensure we work in targeted ways to effectively allay grievances, guide expectations, and maintain confidence. Short-term goals and actions must be avoided. We must persist with an incremental, steady, and persistent approach, integrate theoretical and political guidance for more complicated and sensitive issues with regular guidance on this front. We must stay focused on difficulties, hot-button issues, and emerging problems of public concern, and keep working to preserve the unity between promoting democracy and generating public support in our commitment to serving the people. Unbalanced assessment standards must be rejected. When assessing performance, we must examine whether members have helped in resolving real problems, but also whether they have contributed positively to diffusing potential risks and dangers. We must see if they have held firm and spoken out at critical moments, but also if they have engaged deeply with their respective sectors to fulfill their duties of communicating policy, addressing problems, and increasing unity. The problem of putting form over substance in our work measures must be overcome. We must work to maintain the unity between acting on the mass line and advancing CPPCC consultation, basing our work on local conditions and exploring ways of maintaining close contacts with local people on the ground, employing modern means of communication to create new and efficient ways of serving public, encouraging National Committee members to better serve as the promoters of CPC policy, as theoretical and political guides, and as the go-to people for people in their respective sectors. 3. To strengthen unity throughout the Chinese nation, we must uphold the leadership of the CPC. Unity must have a center, and only when that center is firmly upheld can we unite the hearts and minds of the many. The CPC has been chosen by history and the Chinese people as the center for the Chinese nation's unity. The past and the present reality provide ample proof that the stronger the CPC's leadership, the firmer its political stand, the more it's possible to consolidate and broaden the patriotic united front, effectively pull the wisdom and energy of all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation at home and abroad, and realize great unity that is genuine, extensive, and tight-knit. The CPPCC must therefore take a clear political stand and uphold the leadership of the CPC, and especially the centralized, unified leadership of the CPC Central Committee. It must better fulfill its important roles of strengthening and upholding party leadership over all areas of work, of using the party's latest theories to unite and guide public figures from all ethnic groups and social sectors, and of resolving problems and building consensus based on a shared theoretical and political foundation. Party organizations and CPC members within the CPPCC shoulder political responsibility for realizing party leadership. They must establish a sense of responsibility for pulling the will and the energy we need, be prepared to speak up and provide guidance and leadership, and be adept at resolving problems. We must take the view that fulfilling our duties is not about having our say, but about saying the right things, and get better at not just saying the right things, but saying them in a way that people will accept and embrace. We should deepen identification with Chinese culture and values based on our shared history and common cultural roots. Enhance identification with our past and system based on our great achievements over the past century and the shared goals toward which we are now striving, and increase identification with theories and policies based on ideological and political development and looking after the interests and concerns of the people. We must strengthen unity while fulfilling duties, consolidate unity while cooperating on common endeavors, and deepen unity as we jointly strive together so as to help create a truly vibrant situation in which all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation are committed to the same goal in mind and are pulling in the same direction to achieve it. Fellow members, strength springs from unity, and a great mission demands unity. Let us then unite more closely around the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. Commit to working hard and bravely advancing forward. Open up new prospects for the CPPCC's endeavors in the new era. Make new and even greater contributions to building a modern socialist China in all respects and to realizing the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. And do solid work to usher in a triumphant 20th National Congress of the CPC.
That was the opening ceremony of CPPCC, the fifth session of the 13th National Committee. And the chairman of CPPCC, Wang Yang, just made a work report of CPPCC in the past year, and it also laid out future plans for 2022. He first reviewed what the body has done in 2021. He said 82 independent investigations have been carried out and 5,039 proposals have been produced, covering almost all aspects of China's social and economic development, such as the 14th Five-Year Plan, battling COVID-19, and exploring more efficient ways of consultations, participating in the handling of state affairs, and also setting up a united front in China, and also consolidating unity overseas.
There's one small thing he mentioned that I found really interesting. CPPCC in the last year strived to cultivate a culture of reading in its framework. I mean, if you're a political advisor, you have to advise on the economic development and social development of country. You have to be very well versed, you have to be a very well-read person. And in terms of 2022, he certainly made references to a lot of significance of this year. For example, the 20th National Congress of the CPC will be held this year. He talked about how the CPPCC is in a position to rally people in different
It's
political,
the main function.
and the political institutions around the consensus reached at that critical party event. He also talked about the self-improvement efforts of the CPPCC, how to raise quality proposals, how to reach out to more people, to more walks of people. And then there's a lot of focus, obviously, on the economic development. For example, high quality development comes from high-quality recommendations. That is a requirement on the CPPCC. The mechanism itself, as Zhongning said, he reviewed the party's work in the assisting the 14th Five-Year Plan last year. This year, the same thing. The CPPCC will rally the people it has, economic talent it has in assisting the 14th Five-Year Plan. In a nutshell, 2022 will continue to be a very big year, a new year as the country embarks on a new journey towards its second centenary goal.
Right, a crucial juncture indeed, especially with the very unpredicted, as we just mentioned, COVID situation and also global, very treacherous global situation as well. Well, have you noticed some details on the CPPCC, the sign language? I noticed the sign language every year during the two sessions, not only on CPPCC but also on NPC, showing great care of China's central government towards the people with disabilities indeed. And also this year, of course, we have, apart from people sitting in the Great Hall of People, we have people online, we have CPPCC members participating in another way, online attendance of CPPCC.
These are all renovations in how the CPPCC members carry out their work, right?
In a more practical way, in a more caring way.
Absolutely.
All right, about CPPCC and its functions, let's talk more with our guests today in the studio. First of all, Professor Wang, we mentioned a lot of what CPPCC has done in 2021 and also its mission in 2022. And an interesting fun fact about CPPCC is that why CPPCC always convenes before NPC is because all the decision makings have to go through CPPCC first and then get passed on NPC. It reflects the exact function of CPPCC to make consultations, to exercise democracy supervisions, and also participating in the handling of state affairs, etc. But exactly how it works, in what procedure do those proposals actually influence the policy and laws of China's central government?
Yes, absolutely. I had actually observed the CPPCC annual meeting a few times as a counselor of State Council, but also I'm also currently a Beijing CPPCC committee member as well. Yeah, it's actually, I think CPPCC is really a unique way of actually gathering the opinions from all the top experts from different walks of life, from elite and from policymakers, think tanks. It's a really unique form for collecting all those opinions. You're right. They have actually going through that, and then all the CPPCC member has a responsibility to submit at least a few proposals for this conference. So they have to prepare, they have to do the investigation, they have to come up with ideas, recommendations. So, and also particularly they are in the different sectors. They have a very concrete proposals. And then the CPPCC...
How concrete are they? For example, if I notice a lot of stray cats and dogs on the street, and I really, it's a big concern to me. Yeah. And you said you are a member of CPPCC in the Beijing municipal level. And how is my opinion, my concern of the stray cats and dogs will be delivered to you, and then you deliver to the upper level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and furthermore, influence the general animal protection law in China.
Of course, because if there's an issue regarding homeless dogs or cats that or people abandon them, how have a better way to collect them, and then maybe have a certain department to look after that. There certainly you can make great recommendations, and also same is true for environment, for the traffic, for the children schooling district,
right.
A variety at the municipality level, but also at the national level. Of course, it's climate change or how we can do better for our
and protection of human and children's rights,
economic rights, and all that things. So this is really a brilliant, I think, invention actually for China. So this is consultative democracy. I think also on that, in China you have actually meritocracy, where you have selecting all those good representatives to be a CPPCC member. But also now we are reflecting with the technology, as Zhong mentioned, you have people from Hong Kong, for example, all the CPP members, they are attending this online, in Hong Kong actually. And also, of course, they can do the same function as submit all the proposals. And then there's a committee composed of special experts groups that actually evaluate each proposal and then submit to the relevant departments for reviewing and for have to give a response. So if I submit a proposal, in 2 or 3 months' time, I'll get either a visit or a telephone, but all has to be a written reply to your proposal. So it's a good way to really get check and balance and urge government to do something. So if you have a 2,000 CPPCC member, everybody making 5 proposals, you got a 10,000 proposals. That's really a big push for the innovation and modernization for the process of the society and the country and the development.
Professor, although CPPCC is a very Chinese concept, the idea, like Mr. Wang said just now, of contributing to democracy is not. When you heard Mr. Wang Yang speak just now, what was your major takeaway from his speech, especially concerning the self-improvements of the CPPCC? A lot of people might not know this, but the CPPCC strives to do better jobs every year in terms of how proposals are collected, how proposals are handled, how they're absorbed. Your take on that?
My take on that basically is that China has its own system and works very well for China, as many of times President Xi Jinping expressed that. And I think in the case of China, analyzing that, the quality of planning is very important. So the first takeaway is that we are continue moving ahead in a positive way. What Chairman Wang just presented was basically explain everything that would be done in the near future, give the lights and the headlights where you need to go. And that's very important. He talks a lot about development, the high quality development, sustainability, and how China should move it. And that's why this political event is very, very important for the international world. Why? Because normally in the past, let's say 20 years ago, maybe there is not a lot of attention from the world. But as China step each day more as a leadership in the world, this is very important because not just for business, but for governance in the world and countries, they want to know how China is moving to the future. I was talking to Professor Wang about that I watched the State of Union Joe Biden address, and not comparing, but it's a completely different way of doing things. Okay, is his wish list. I would say, I want to do this, I want to build infrastructure. Here is different. It's a lot as we
concrete
just, more than 3,000, 4,000. To get at this level, you have more than 10,000 people involved. So that's a very important element.
Let's leave our discussions right there, and we'll continue with our guests for more discussions. But now let's take some look back at the highlights of what Wang Yang, the chairman of CPPCC, has said. China's top political advisory body, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC, is holding its opening session in Beijing, and Chairman of its National Committee, Wang Yang, has just delivered a working report, as we said, highlighting the achievements from the past year.
We strengthened theoretical and political guidance with the focus on celebrating the CPC's centenary, fulfilled our duties with the view to facilitate a good start to the 14th five-year plan, and we have made new contributions to the construction of the party and the country.
All right, if you missed parts of that report just now, CPPCC chairman of its national committee, Wang Yang, also said in his work report that the body will continue to strengthen the role of the CPPCC as a specialized consultative body.
Continuing to strengthen the role of CPPCC as a specialized consultative body, with a focus on implementing General Secretary Xi Jinping's important ideas on strengthening and improving CPPCC work and the guidelines of the Central Conference on CPPCC work, we will take follow-up action to study and review the innovations that we have made in various aspects since the 18th CPC National Congress. We will deepen our studies on major theoretical and practical issues relating to the CPPCC and work hard to make fresh progress in refining the substance of consultation, diversifying its forms, improving its rules, fostering a culture of consultation, and building our capacity for consultation.
All right, Doni, I believe that's all the time we have on our special coverage today. On the opening session of the National Committee of the CPPCC this year, our coverage on the two sessions will continue, of course, and special thanks to our guests here in the studio, Professor Teixeira, Mr. Wang. Appreciate your insight.
Indeed, and a little forecast here. Tomorrow, NPC is going to officially begin, so stay tuned with CGTN for more updates and for a special live coverage of all that as well. And that's all for our special coverage of CPPCC opening ceremony. I'm Li Dongning.
I'm Zhong Shi. Thank you so much for your company.
See you.